Perfect. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We hope that we can share with you some information about how to keep your children safe online. We're organizing this event in a collaboration between the Red de Talentos Mexicanos, which is translated as the Mexican Talent Network, and Dextery Club. I'm here on behalf of the Mexican Talent Network, and I assume most of you don't actually know us, but just let me tell you for a second who we are. We're a network of Mexican professionals living in the Netherlands, and we're part of actually a global network of Mexicans in the whole world. And what we do is we promote the development and strengthen the bond of the Mexican community in the Netherlands. We also help linking ideas and projects to both the development from Mexico to the Netherlands, and we like to highlight the presence of Mexico in the Netherlands. And we also like to work with our members and collaborate with them in different projects that they might have. And of Dextery Club, both Tere Sanchez and Dina Fajardo are amazing people, and they are running Dextery Club, and that's why we're collaborating with them this evening to bring this event for you guys. And I will give it over to Tere, who will tell you a little bit about Dextery Club and then get us on with this evening. The floor is yours, Tere. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jane. Okay, thank you very much for joining us in this interesting talk called Are Your Children Safe Online? I think that we have very useful information to share with you about this important and interesting topic. So my name is Teresa and I'm part of the Dextery Club. So the Dextery Club is an organization that started last year with the purpose of give resources to children about digital competencies, but also about digital citizenship in order to promote responsibility in children when they are using the internet. So of course, we also want to give resources to parents and to teachers to face this new challenging situation with using the technology in a daily basis. So that's why we created this type of workshops in order to give these resources also for parents and for teachers. Let's start with the content of this talk. And let's talk first about the definition of digital safety. We consider that the first step, if we want to help our children to prevent risks when they are online, it's for us to understand what is digital safety. And we wanted to give you a very easy to understand description of what is this. Digital safety is being aware of the risks that we can face when we are connected to the internet, and also be able to identify these risks and prevent them. We know that we are connected to the internet more than ever before. And according to some statistics from the World Economic Forum, by 2030, 90% of the world's population will be connected to the internet, which means that we'll be also facing digital risk. We are going to be exposed to this type of risks. And of course, our children will be exposed also to this type of risks. We have to understand too that digital risk can be, for instance, when we buy something by mistake online, but also it includes very strong situations in which we can have extortion, for instance, or even violence against children. That's why we have to start talking about this topic, and we have to communicate this information to our kids in the best way we can do it at home. Let's start with some statistics. But first of all, I want to do an exercise with you. And I want to ask you, what are the most frequent uses that you give to the internet these days? And for this, I want you to help me to go to this website called www.menti.com. Please, you can see it here on the screen. And use this code to answer a small survey about how you are using internet the most frequent uses that you are giving to the internet in your daily life. I'm going to start sharing my screen to see the results. Let me know if you can see my screen, please. Yeah.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. So I'm going to start with this presentation, and please help me to answer these questions. The first one, what are the most frequent uses that of the internet for you. Let's see the results here. Okay, we have Netflix, of course, social media, work, shopping, news, mail. Yeah, that's interesting. Now, according to your perception, let's answer the same question, but for kids. What are the most popular uses of the internet for kids, according with your perception? What do you think? Netflix, games, videos, school, yes. YouTube, yes. Okay, interesting. Games, yeah. Chatting, okay. Playing, quite interesting, yes. Let's see some statistics. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And let's continue with some statistics. Okay, yeah, indeed, we are using internet many hours of our day, and according with recent studies, the time per day that we spend using the internet, I mean, the worldwide average is 6 hours and 43 minutes. Of course, this is changing according to the country, but in general, it's 6 hours and 34 minutes. Okay. And in other statistics, we can see that, for instance, so currently, 63.2 of the world's population at nowadays connected to the internet. And in terms of social media, 49% of the global population is active in social media. And we consider that this trend is continues to grow in the upcoming years. But how are kids using the internet? We also have some interesting statistics from different recent studies. We have one done by Kaspersky in this year. And according with this study, last year, children spent mainly time using software, audio, and video. And this means, for instance, YouTube, Netflix, all these streaming platforms. In second place is internet communication, which includes all the apps that children are using to have online classes. And also when they are chatting or when they are using social media. Also, computer games is in third place, but we have to put attention because in this ranking, in this top 8 ranking, also adult content is considered. This means that our kids using or accessing to adult content in you know, in I don't know, in some frequency. So we have to be aware about this topic. But how are they connecting? They are mainly connecting to the internet through personal mobile phones, also by family PCs, also with personal tablet devices, school PCs, and other family mobile phones. We have this study done by the Digital Intelligence Institute, and I think this institute it's very interesting for me to give you this information because this is a global movement. This is an international movement between universities, or international organizations, private and public companies. And this institute wants to empower people with digital competencies in a responsible way. They want to give us tools to succeed as digital citizens. And they are putting a lot of effort on giving us information about children and how children are connecting to the technologies. So they also gave us this information in some studies recently done. In the average screen time, according with this study, children who own mobile phones spend around 39 hours per week connected to the internet. And those children who don't own a mobile phone spend 27 hours per week connected to the internet. In terms of cyber risks, of course, those children who own mobile phones are most exposed to cyber risks than those children who don't have a personal mobile phone. But we can see here in these statistics that there's no a huge difference. Actually, those children who don't own mobile phone also are quite exposed to cyber risks, accessing through different devices, even on the school. But what about the most used platforms? We have a study done by the Cyberbullying Research Center in the US, but we consider that this could be more or less the same in Europe. In the last year, the most used platform was YouTube. This is for children between 9 and 12 years old. And in second place was Minecraft. In third place was Roblox. And in fourth place, Google Classroom as a reflection of all these online classes. But what we suggest to parents so far, and at the end of the talk, we're going to give you more tips about it, but we suggest you to be aware of the apps, games, and platforms that our children are using. And in order to give you some help, we're going to share with you some resources that can help you to know what apps or games are in fashion among kids, so it's going to be easier for you to understand what are they doing, and you will be able to talk with them about this. Also, we're going to share with you some resources with responsible content for kids, also to give you some resource to offer to your kids more activities, but responsible activities for them. We're going to share this with you later. And let's continue with the statistics. I want to introduce you to this very interesting index just created by the Digital Intelligence Institute. This is the Child Safety Online Index. It's quite new and I think it's very interesting. This index reflects the level of online safety for children across the world based on different parameters. So the higher score indicates lower level of cyber risks. I want to share with you this information because maybe you can check in a deeply way how or which parameters they are using to give this number. And also in this context, this institute just recently presented a survey in 30 countries among children between 8 and 12 years old. And the results of this survey were quite shocking. We have these results. 45% of online children are affected by cyberbullying, 45%. 29% are exposed to violent and sexual content. 17% experience risky contact, such as offline meetings with strangers or sexual contact. Uh, yeah, and 13% are at risk for a gaming disorder. So these are facts. That's why it's important to be aware of these facts and start talking with our children about this important topic. Now I'm going to change a little bit of the subject. And now I want to talk about the information that we are usually sharing when we are connected to the internet in our daily life. So I'm going to give you a small classification of this information with the purpose of helping you to define when you are putting your information on risk. We can divide our information into types. We have personal information and we also have private information. When we're talking about personal information, we're not like let's say like we're not in a real risk because this information is known to our social environment. For instance, for our family, for our coworkers, or for our friends. This could be the city where we live, if we have pets, the country where we live, the place where we work. So this information is not unique and is not like a real risk. Doesn't mean that we can share it like always, no, not like that, but this is not very risky. But on the other hand, we have private information, and we have to be very careful when we detect that we have to share private information. This could be, for instance, date of birth, phone number, or direction. This information is unique and at some point can be used against us. So the idea is that when you identify that you are sharing private information, we have to make a double check in the website just to be sure that we're giving our information with high levels of security and our information will be protected. In this context, I want to finish with an exercise, and I'm gonna give you some examples in which for sure we were exposed to some type of cyber risk, or maybe no, but in this activities, for sure we gave at some point information, and this exercise helped us to realize how careful we were when sharing our private or our personal information. Let's think, for instance, about taking a personality quiz, or when we answer online surveys with the intention of getting a gift, or when we download an app where we must to give our address, or when we use social media accounts to access new platforms or apps, or for instance, when we accept trial periods in which we have to give or provide our credit card information. So with this exercise, I invite you to the next time that you have to share this information, think twice if you really want to share it, or if you have to share it, please make this double check to see that we're sharing in a proper website with high levels of security. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to finish with this. I'm going to give the floor to my colleague Dina to talk more about it.
Thank you, Tere. Yeah, so as Tere was sharing, children of today are the first generation that experience this kind of dual life, right? We have a physical life, and now we have a digital life. And even though this divide between the physical and the digital life is almost invisible, we have to acknowledge that the digital world brings many new and different benefits, but also risks. One of the main differences is that the digital world provides us with a wide range of access to information, content, and people that it's around the world. But also that everything we do online stays there and creates a digital footprint that may affect us years from today. But not everything is bad. And seeing it with a positive lens, we are very fortunate to have access and the opportunity to experience the digital world. We don't want to scare you and that you feel afraid to give a device to your child, to your children. We just want you to be conscious of what you're doing, be mindful that what it implies for a kid to have a device, and take the correct actions that you can. So first of all, we know that through sharing with others has a lots of benefits. It helps us feel good, because sharing positive experiences helps us remember them even after they're over. Also, we have the opportunity to see others' experiences, and that this may inspire us, right? It helps us learn, because we are a click away from the best teachers around the world. We can experience and be part of many different places through videos and content that is out there in the internet. And the internet also helps us stay connected. As we have experienced this last year, through the internet, we are able to stay connected to our loved ones, to our family and our community, even when they are far away, or when we can't see them physically. Unfortunately, as we were saying before, us and our children not only benefit from having the opportunity to access internet, but we are also exposed to some risks. Online risks are one of the major sources of risk that children and teenagers face nowadays. As parents and teachers, we have to be aware of these risks, pay attention of what our children are doing in the internet, and start talking about this topic with them as soon as we give them the first device. There are three types of risks. We have content risks, which include those things that people may find upsetting, disgusting, or uncomfortable if they come across them accidentally. This might include pornography, images of cruelty of animals, and real or simulated violence. As shown in this headline that we have here in the Telegraph, our children may be 3 clicks away from accessing explicit material. And since they have a device, we may have parent controls at home, but if they're at school, or even if they connect to the internet in a store, in the supermarket, they may have access to this content. We also have the contact risks. These risks include children coming into contact with people they don't know, or with adults posing as children online. For example, a child may be persuaded to do things they don't want to do. meet someone he doesn't know, share personal information, photographs or videos with strangers. For instance, when we see our kids that are there playing video games online, such as Minecraft or Roblox or Fortnite, they may be with their headset. And while we are not paying attention and not hearing what they are hearing, they may be playing or sharing information or talking to people that they don't know. So it's very important to pay attention to what they are doing in the devices, in the video games, or out there. And we also have the conduct risks. These risks include children acting in ways that might hurt themselves or hurt others, or being even they can be victims of this kind of behavior. This may be accidentally, as purchasing things online without intention, or this could be intentionally, where children could copy behaviors they see on the internet, even violence they experience on their video games. They could be victims of people harassing them, or even they could bully others through the internet. As Tere shared, cyberbullying is very common because children and teenagers may empower themselves behind the computer when they are not physically seeing the other person. And as they are not being seen, when perpetrating the actions, they may feel confident to do them. So that's why it's so common, and it's been increasing around the world. So now that we are aware of the potential risks, Fer will share with us some tips and ideas that may be useful to prevent these risks and make better use of the internet.
Thank you, Dina. Well, hi, my name is Maria, and like my colleague said, I'm here to share some tips with you about digital balance and the use of social networks for kids. But beforehand, I would like to talk a little bit about what digital balance is. And so digital balance, like the word says so, it talks to us about a way of being able to manage our screen time in a way that is not just healthy, but also in tune with the rest of our activities during the day. So in this case, as you know, we're talking about kids. So this is why me and my colleagues, we have designed a series of tips so you can apply them at home and hopefully promote a better routine with your kids. So now tip number one falls into the category of digital balance. And this refers to the importance of creating schedules. So in this case, these are gonna be, when I say schedules, I mean choosing strict hours in which our children can connect to the internet. And the more consistent you are with this, the better it will work in the long term. And it is also important to emphasize that you have to involve children in the process of creating these schedules, because it is sometimes the imposition of schedules that makes it very, very hard to keep them on the long term. So what is best for this case is to approach our kids and talk to them and decide and define a better schedule together, so this can be kept on the long term. Now, tip number two talks to us about the importance of taking an active digital role in their lives and also setting the example. And this is a lot about reaching out to our kids and asking them, for example, what are the apps they use the most, or what are the online games they like playing, or the social networks they like most. And this will be done with the purpose of obtaining a general understanding on what are our kids doing online and why are they doing that. And it is, of course, also very important to keep in mind that we have to set the example for them, and we have to keep the screen time at a minimum when we're around them. Now, for tip number three, this talks about the fact that online time should never be a reward. And this is very interesting, because sometimes it is very easy for us to tell kids, if you do your homework, you'll be able to connect to the internet for half an hour, or if you clean your room, you can play that game for an hour. But as this may seem harmless, it is actually not, because what it does is that this sort of turns that screen time into something special for them. So this makes them want it even more. And in this case, what we should do is better reinforce that tip number one and reinforce those schedules that we chose together with our kids. Now, tip number four is about creating screen-free spaces and moments. And in here, I gave you some examples like the bedroom 1 hour before sleeping, the dining room at lunch or dinner with the family, the car on the way to school or some other place, and while visiting friends or family. And this is very simple. It's just about taking advantage of these opportunities when the children are bored and they want to play with the smartphone or the tablet to do something different with them. Now with tip number 5, we're going to enter into the category of digital safety. And in here, I'm going to talk a little bit about the famous parental controls that you probably already heard about. And yeah, this is a very complicated topic because sometimes we don't necessarily know how to activate these parental controls, or we don't necessarily know someone who can help us activate them. So this is why I've taken the liberty to share this link right here with you. And well, my colleagues are also going to share this link with you after the talk. And if you click on it, this will take you to a website that is going to show you how to activate these parental controls, not just for social media, but also for online games or any kind of app, and also for any kind of device. And what I like about this website is that it's super simple. It's explained in a very easy way, step by step, and it is also available for anyone who doesn't have a background in that. And I would also like to recommend you this app called Google Family Link, because this is also, well, the service is free of charge, and it is also useful so you can manage or monitor what your children are doing online, and also manage their screen time at a distance. And now we go with tip number 6, and this is about the importance of talking to our children about making sure that the websites they're visiting are safe. So for example, checking the domain is a safe domain, checking they have a security stamps like these ones, or the privacy policy that they can usually find at the bottom of the website, and they can click on it to verify if it's authentic or not. And now tip number 7 is about the search engines for children and the geolocation deactivation. And these search engines are actually very good, especially for the kids who are just starting to use technology or just starting to use the smartphone. And they're really useful because all the information that kids can access to through these search engines has already been previously verified. And what this means is that all that content has been previously checked. So there is no violent content or no use of inappropriate language there. So this is, of course, very, very good. And in here we have this one, KidRec. This is the most famous one because it's a project powered by Google. But you can also access to some others like KidsClick or Kidtopia, and they're all free of charge. And it is also important to talk to them about the geolocation deactivation, because sometimes we use apps, and when we download the app, it asks us to permanently activate our geolocation. And it is, of course, very important that our kids understand that this could be a threat to them. And now tip number 8 enters into the category of social media. And this, like my colleague Tere said, it is very important to talk to kids about what they can post online and what it is not appropriate to post online. But we have also designed 3 questions that we wanted to share with you. And these questions are really useful, not just for kids, but also for ourselves to ask ourselves before sharing any information online. And the first question says, does it tell the truth? And this question is about making sure that the information we're sharing is not fake and that it comes from a reliable source. Then question number 2 says, am I respecting myself and others? And this is about making sure we're not damaging our own identity or other third parties' identities. And question number 3 says, is it useful for me or anybody else? And this is also a very good question because this invites us to think before posting if what we're about to share with other people is really necessary or not. And now tip number 9 is about the famous quizzes and questionnaires that you've probably already seen, like this one, for example. And they're most common on Facebook. And it is also very important to talk to our kids about this and about the dangers of answering these questionnaires and sharing personal and private information that could potentially put them in danger. And now the tip number 10 is about the privacy settings and friend requests. And so the privacy settings, this is about making sure that before our children start using social networks, they already know their way around settings. So they know basic stuff. So who can see what they're publishing, who can contact them, how can they stop or block someone who's harassing them, because this is, of course, very important. And also to talk to them about the friend requests, because this happens all the time and we get constantly approached or contacted by strangers online. So it is important that they know that if this happens, they should come to us so we can discuss this. And now to close, I would just like to add some final comments that, well, as we all know, we cannot take the smartphones away from our children. We cannot take the computer away. But I believe that what we can do is that we can channel that interest they have in technology into something more positive. For example, giving them access to a robotics workshop or a coding workshop or any other activity that is also related to technology, but so they can channel that interest into something more, in a more creative and healthy way. And of course, it is still important to keep an open conversation with them and be very sure they understand all these risks before they start interacting online. So that would be all. Thank you. And now I'm going to leave you with my colleague, Dina, who's going to talk to you a little bit about our project.
Thank you, Fer. Well, we know this is a lot of information in our website, and tomorrow we will share with you the link to this conversation, but also a link to different resources, all the resources that Maria shared today with you, links and things you might want to check when you are trying to figure out the strategy to help your children get into this conversation. I want to highlight what Maria said at the end, that we can prevent exposure by having parent controls or by restricting their access. But it's very important to keep an open conversation and to build this bridge of trust with your children, because we can prevent it, but if they are already facing a risk, it's very important for them to have the confidence to talk to you about this topic. So I don't know if there are any questions, if you want to use the chat or open your mic to share with us any questions or any concerns that you may have.
Dina, hi, it's Viviana.
Hi, Viviana.
I just wanted to, thank you. All of this is so useful, and thank you so much. We think that we know, but there's always a lot to learn. I'm particularly concerned about like YouTube, because I feel that with the rest of the things that my son can access, I think we have good control. And but YouTube is the one that's scares me, I guess, a little bit more, right? Because he can go in the rabbit hole and start opening, and because what he mostly uses YouTube for is either like music videos, or sometimes I've let him watch some videos of gamers just because he was trying to, you know, see how someone was doing on Minecraft. And then, you know, but then of course we cannot be monitoring that all the time. So I don't know if there's something one of you guys have like a specific suggestion with that.
Fer, do you want to explain?
Yeah, I think maybe, well, in this case, what I would recommend is, again, using the link that I shared with you in the presentation and that my colleagues are going to share with you later. And in there, in this website, you can also access in more detail because it also includes YouTube and other similar websites or Twitch, similar things that kids are using now. And in there, you can usually find a very detailed explanation of how to activate the parental controls. Or I think there's even a version, a YouTube version for kids, YouTube Kids. So you can use that, but in case they also want to access to another context, you can use the normal version of YouTube, but with the parental controls activated. And in that case, I think it should be okay.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, I'll have a look at that link again. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you have any other questions about the?
I think there's a question there about the good age.
I just wanted to share something, but I remember that you said, Fer, that there's an app, like this Google, I don't remember the name exactly.
Family Link, no? Family Link,
exactly. This is very useful because it gives you like an average of the time spent on the internet. It doesn't matter which app. So what I suggest is that maybe you can use this app and then try to put like rules in order to, let's check every single day how long we are connected to YouTube, and then try to give like some sort of rules. And we can use this app to check out the time. Yeah, this is just a suggestion that I can give you. But
Great.
this app is quite
Thank you.
to check out the time that we are spending. Yeah, thank you, Viviana.
Yeah, I will say it's that, and then if it's possible for him to use the YouTube Kids instead of using the open YouTube, use the YouTube Kids, because this one helps you. So it helps him find things or resources that have been previously checked. So
yeah, and we started with that, of course, but especially with this thing that I told you on the gamers, I mean, that those would not show up there, right? So then I said, okay, you know, like I was monitoring those, and I said they're okay, I mean, particular from a certain person, but then of course I see how YouTube works, and from there he can just with one click is something that I completely have no idea what it is, and I did not vet, or so that's why I keep worrying a little bit about YouTube. But so yeah, so I'll see about parental controls. Probably we don't have the right settings, so I'll start there, and yes, this app as well. I think it's very helpful. I had no idea it existed, this family link. So those two things for sure I already have as homework. Thanks.
Thank you, Viviana. I think there's a question there about the good age to give a child a mobile. I think it's a difficult question because sometimes we obviously give them a mobile to keep contact with them if they go out by themselves. So it has a specific use for our family that they have a mobile. And then there's also the peer pressure, right? If other children already have a mobile, how can't I give it to them? So I think there's no correct answer for that. If it's useful for you, if it's useful for your family, then you can give it at a certain age. But there are parental controls that are for each different age or appropriate for different ages, where you can block some apps if you don't want them to access some kind of apps. And also when they are, obviously when they are older, it's important to keep the conversation open and try to help them be conscious about this.
Yeah, I would also like to add that I think sometimes it's not the age, but it's also a lot about the fact that they understand even if they have the mobile, they won't be able to use it all the time. So I think it is very important that the first contact they have with the mobile, they understand that there will be specific hours and to access to the internet, or that they will be supervised while they're doing it. And then eventually they will, from this, they can create a habit on the long term.
Hello. Thank you. My name is Gema. First, I want to thank you for the presentation. It was really interesting. I work as a teacher, and I would like to say something about what's a good age to give children a mobile phone. Well, what I'm seeing every time more and more often is that children, I'm teaching little more teenagers, from 10 till 18. But at the age of 10, 11, I'm seeing that for obvious reason, what you were saying, we need to be in contact with them. Or I live in Madrid, so it's a big city. So sometimes, I don't know, there's a traffic jam. They are not going to arrive on time. They want to let know the kids that they are going to be late. So sometimes it's a need. It's objectively a need for them to be in contact and to have a mobile phone. What I'm seeing lately, and I think it's useful, is that they've got mobile phones that only allow them to access the internet when they are with the Wi-Fi at home, so that they can use them for phone calls, for messages, to their parents, or even to a friend, maybe if it's needed, while they are outside, when you cannot really control them, and then at home, they can free access to the internet using the Wi-Fi. That it's a clever option because, and this is now just an opinion, I think 11 is too early for them to own a mobile phone. Okay, it is true that they are having tablets, which is really common. We are using, as you mentioned, Google Classroom, so they need to know their way around the internet and the way around these apps, and we cannot, protect them that much. They need to know how to use it. But it is true that to own one with free access to the internet would be, I wouldn't consider it responsible at that age. So that's why I just wanted to mention this option, which I think is a clever one. And also to thank you, because I think you mentioned like one key point, which is what you talked about, controlling the time. That is key. The amount of time they spend using the website, it's very important. And then the fact that they know the risks, because I think if you've got, I think it was Dina who was mentioning it, that if you feel your kids have the know the risks, and they've got they are able to talk to you about it, that's the safest thing. Because as soon as they see something weird or something strange that we've been talking about, and they've got the confidence to tell you, that is key, because unfortunately there are, and I got examples in my working experience, there are certain risks that are more real that I'd like, So I think what you mentioned about talking about to them about the risk, and keep like a good conversations, with your kids, that's key. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Gemma.
Thank you.
It's for us, it's super important to have you here. And I'm also seeing, because teachers are key also in this conversation, to open the spaces with parents to start the conversation, and to lead them to talk to their children about it. And I see Maria is here also, and she's a kindergarten teacher. And she also considers that regarding children with free time on the internet is not a good idea. So and obviously for preschool children, for kindergarten children, it's very common that we give them like the tablet or the videos as a way to reward them, or to entertain them. So it's very important to have you guys here, sharing your own experience with your children, your students. Thank you. I don't know if there's another comment or question. I want, while we know if there's any other comment, I want just to share a little bit more about dexterity, because it's important for us that you know that we are an organization that wants to bring these topics to the table with children in our labs, in our clubs, and also at home. So now we have a coding box that you can buy and start talking, but also play with your children at home to learn more about this topic. And we have the Dexterity Guardians area, where you can access our web page and learn more about what we are doing. We will have more activities like this one to continue providing more resources, you can also access our database of resources there. So please stay in touch. And if you have any questions, any other comments, please let us know, or send us a message through our media.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for joining us. And of course, if later you have some question, you can always contact us through our email. We'll be happy to help you with any question that you have. Jess, I just want to say thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Maris.
Thank you all. This was very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dankjewel.
Thank you, El.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you, Jane.